Namaste, viewers. Welcome to Jaipur Dialogue USA. And we are beginning our conversation today about the Hindu conundrum and the role played by global media. As we see every day, there is so much going on around Hindus, the Hindu world. To talk about this subject matter, I have the greatest of pleasure in welcoming a real scholar, a devoted Hindu, and a great fighter, Sree Iyer ji from P Gurus. Namaste, Sree Iyer ji.
Namaskar, sir. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you very much for joining Jaipur Dialogue USA and a new and upcoming channel to strengthen the Hindu India narrative globally. So before we begin, just wanted to say that please like, subscribe, and support our channel because we are doing what nobody else does or a very few people do. Sree Iyer ji, one of them. And so welcome to the show. And I wanted you to begin with one particular thing. I find in the conversations that are going on that Hindus remain a confused lot. A lot of them are, so inundated with facts nowadays that they do not know where to begin, where to end, or which path to take. So even dharma is not understood. Very few people have read our own text because it's very deep, very old, and there is a lot of truth in it. There is no time to read. As a result of which, we are perpetually suffering from not knowing, but very desirous to do something. It's a very interesting phenomenon. Your thoughts on it?
First off, best of luck to Jaipur Dialogues USA, and many more such channels are needed because the messaging that needs to be done has to be done from many different places. And I wish you all the best of luck, Vibhuti Jha. And as far as this topic is concerned, you hit the nail on the head. Growing up, or just when I had arrived in the US in the 80s, there used to be a term that used to refer to most people who were born in the United States. They used to call them ABCDs, American born confused desis. Let's say there is some merit in that. But now what I'm seeing is you have a lot of IBCDs also.
Yeah.
Indian born confused desis. And they're still staying in India. And the reason for that is our educational system in India. My recommendation, I've been saying this for at least a couple of years now, is that education be taken out of state. In other words, it should be taken out of concurrent list and put it in the center list. This is a constitutional change. It's high time India did that because it doesn't matter whether it is Kanyakumari or Kashmir, whether it is the leftmost, the westmost point of India or the eastmost point of India. What children are taught has to be consistent and has to be truthful. Truth is the most important thing. After all, we always look at truth. Why are we on this world? In search of truth. And Sanatana Dharma is the only way of life that says that you can choose any path you want, but at the end, you are looking for truth. And this is what people get confused here. And the bigger challenge that I also see is that today we are consuming way too much data, and we are not sitting back and reflecting on what was it that we read, whether it is 140 characters, 280 characters, Facebook posts, what have you. This is the thing, is Sanatana Dharma runs deep. On the surface, still waters run deep. On the surface, it looks very, 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 very soft, but it is running deep. And when you read something about the Sanatana Dharma, you need to sit and reflect on it for at least a couple of minutes to see. Only then you get the message, the deep message in it. Unfortunately, today, we are get up in the morning, we are scrolling our WhatsApp, Facebook, what have you, and we're just consuming content. There are some things that our receptors are tuned to, and those things we just jump up. We'll either retweet or we'll add some comment to that, but we go on. We don't really do anything about it. Just a few voices now have started voicing concerns about how many of the institutions that are actually going to sit in judgment over Hindutva have been captured by Muslims. I'm talking about right in the United States of America, where it is a free society. You and I have freedom of speech. A lot of us are here. We are doing very well. In fact, the Indian Americans are the most prosperous community now in the United States, bar none. But try asking your millionaire friend to donate $10,000 for your cause. They'll run away. It's just there is like they don't seem to understand that we are all being slow cooked. Only when their children go and face the music in some of the more prestigious institutes, I say double quotes because these have been also captured. When they see the violent or vehement disapproval of their religion, that's when they see that it hits them in the face. And but are we preparing our kids from the third grade? I'm talking about the average Hindu American family. From the third grade, the parents have that all mapped out. You shall go to spelling bee, you shall go to this speech and debate, you shall go to this private school, you will start learning SAT, you'll start doing this special project, you'll go and spend your summers in El Salvador, Ecuador, wherever, India, some place like that. Everything is mapped out to the last minute. Unfortunately, in all this stuff, the spirituality is a casualty. The children, you go, Vibhuti Ji, you go to any temple, right? Just observe the 8, 9, 15 impressionable children. See how many are genuinely looking at the Murti and praying, and how many are, why am I here? Can we go home? Can we leave now? I have done namaskar. Are you okay? You understand what I'm saying? That's how children are. And this is what needs to be changed. When we were growing up, we didn't have so much of a barrage of TV channels and media. We had books, Amar Chitra Katha, beautifully rendered stories of various characters in India, whether it is Bhagavatam or Mahabharata or Ramayana. There were so many beautiful stories. So it was completely, you understood, even though the school still tried its best to try and make you feel apologetic about your religion, deep inside people understood what they were. This is now under attack. They have gone right to the foundations of your education. For example, many Christian-run schools in India, especially in the South, do not allow their children to put vibhuti on their forehead or kumkum. They're not allowing it. And yet, when one private school said you can't wear hijab and come to school, you saw the kind of uproar that happened. Why isn't the Hindu majority objecting to their freedom of being able to wear a kumkum or a vibhuti? Even the kumkum, sir, to be honest with you, they need to be really using the powder kumkum that is made organically, not the stick-on dot. The reason for that is the place where you put the kumkum is where your heat glands are monitored, and this kumkum keeps your head cool. That means it helps you stay cool, calm, collected thoughts. That was the reason why that kumkum was put in the first place, which is why men and women put it on. So you see, the thing is, this part about how it's beneficial to you is lost. Nobody does anything. And the reason people put Vibhuti, your name, sir, is to remind you that that is where we come from and that is where we are headed. Let's try to make some sense of when we are not in one or the other. Let's make our society a better place. That is a constant reminder. You are one with Shiva. And these little things like this, if you explain that to the child and then put it on, perhaps the child will have a better appreciation of what you're trying to do. And these are all little things. I don't know where to begin, but certainly for parents, they have to begin at their home. The reason is now from the middle school, the barrage starts. In fact, we have been very closely monitoring what is happening in California education system, the books that are being recommended for middle school. That's where the rot starts. And we are trying to change that thing. We have been successful to some extent, but the biggest pushback is coming from the publisher who says, I have printed billions of books, billions of dollars worth of books, because what happens in California today spread to the other 49 states tomorrow. And they are saying, I can't change it. Well, say, why don't you at least insert a piece of paper? Even that they are reluctant. So so what happens? Parents in every community where there are children, they need to go to their school. They need to go to the teacher who's going to teach history and say, look, what you are using in the book, because they are not given any book. They're not recommended any book. There is no like, you shall only teach from this book, which is what it is in India. In US, there's a guideline for syllabus. So the teacher has the flexibility to introduce any topic the way he or she sees fit. And that's where the parents need to do the work and say, listen, what you have in your book, and they have to do some research. These are the books that typically kids follow. There are some errors here. This is the right part, and give some sort of a packet of data so that they can use that to teach what is the real Sanatana Dharma. And there is advanced level whole courses in high school about world history of world, and it's, I don't remember the exact name of the elective, but many kids read that because they say it's an easy A. And in that also a lot of distortion takes place. So from middle school up to high school end, you need to really concentrate in the United States and say, this is not the right history, this is the right history. The sad part about this, Vibhuti Ji, is that India's history is written by non-Hindus.
Yes.
Don't go by the name. Oh, it sounds Indian. No, it's not. That person is a Christian, born Christian.
That's
All
right.
these names where they hide behind, something like Savita Subramanian or something like that. It's not. They are essentially Christians. They don't know what the Sanatana Dharma is yet. And so what they do, they pick the most goriest concepts that visually impact you and use that to describe the religion. For example, Kali drinking blood with the face of Rakshasa in her hand. That's one of the pictures depicted.
Yeah.
As this is what is Hinduism. And then they'll show the dancing Nataraja. He's actually dancing on top of a Rakshasa who has taken a dwarf form. But they say, oh, they look at it, he's dancing on a baby. So this whole literal description and trying to, essentially put to shame the whole religion is being done very actively. And Abrahamic religions are very, very superficial in their approach to religion. They just read, this is the book, they go and listen to their local pastor, whatever he says, everybody sings along, says amen, and go home. Unfortunately, this is not how Sanatana Dharma is practiced. You go to any temple, the priest takes your offering. If you want to do puja, he asks you your gotra. You say this, I am from this lineage. And then he performs the puja to the murti. He is just essentially doing it for you because you don't know how to, you don't know the mantras, you don't know the Sanskrit. So he is essentially doing your job. So he is in between, he's not in between you. He's just essentially telling the murti, the Bhagwan, that here is somebody who wants to worship to you. And this has been the concept for many, many years. Now what is happening in Tamil Nadu, in the name of social justice, what they have done is there are 40,000 functioning temples today. No other state you will find this many temples. What they have done is, in the name of social justice, they made a sham of a training program, and they said, all the current pujaris, you guys don't have a job, you get out. We have this new system. We're going to bring in all these people. And most of them don't even know how to perform a basic puja. See, when you do abhisheka of a murti, right? You do milk, you do honey, you do fruits, and then the thing is carefully collected, and that's what is given as tirtha. The modern day priests, the ones who are appointed under this kind of a sham, they take a hose and hose down the murti. That is their concept of cleaning. It's just nonsense. Total nonsense. The problem is these people are here to stay. They have made 40,000 appointments. And even if the court sets aside the entire thing, all these people will be on the streets because they have the tacit government support. So the whole DMK government is such a vituperative, vicious system that they have evolved. And they continue to do this thing. They want just total social disorder. Never mind the fact that every one of those rascals, when they submitted their application for fighting the elections, they would have consulted 2 numerologists, 4 astrologers, made sure that according to their nakshatra, their wife's nakshatra, their mistress's nakshatra, their son's nakshatra, this is the right time for you to submit the application. Go and submit it now. Now you shall win. But the moment they get out of there, they're again spewing anti-Hindu venom. This is the kind of hypocrisy some of the politicians are indulging in. You see, the problem is all these things start in Tamil Nadu because supposedly it is the most advanced state in India. I don't know what statistic they use to say this thing. Even if that is true, the thing is, this is where India is headed. That is how I see it. California in the US and Tamil Nadu in India. Unfortunately, this is where the things have to be nipped in the bud. These are the two focus points for me as a personally in P Guru. This is what I'm doing.
That's truly awesome. You said so many important things, Sriji. You said so many very, very important things, and you are from Tamil Nadu, and you definitely know the challenge and issues there. You live in California, so you are fully familiar with the challenges that exist for us in California. So the issue here is again back to education. The one thing which is very bothersome, that in today's world of 21st century, we are looking at the global media onslaught on Hindus. You use the word India born confused desis. That's what majority of us came here as. We were India born confused desis, hardly educated in any of our ethos. We all studied the Western text, came here for better life, better job. We did produce eventually American born confused desis, and we have all ended up being Hindus in name only. That's the tragedy of this
Right.
particular community, that we are all Hindus in name only. And we believe that when we talk about reflective thought and inward reflection, that we are criticizing and blaming Hindus. The question is not blaming Hindus, is a question of when are we going to awaken? I mean, you raise some extremely valid points. Now, taking the cue from there, the education part, the global media. I mean, we are the most loved immigrant community anywhere in the world. We are not a law and order problem. We contribute to the societies and we don't ask for anything. But look at it this way. You did a show on, what do you call it? A show
Hindu-
about how the Rutgers University had found the social media elements that are so detrimental to us, that the most peace-loving group of people, the Sanatanis, whether you are in Tamil Nadu or Bihar or anywhere else, we are under constant barrage of attack. The question that we all must answer is, why is it so? Why is the Abrahamic faith concerned about the rise of us, which is totally performance based, but the caste was created? And I will just add one particular element to this, that while we all know unequivocally that Equality Labs is a farcical report, produced a farcical report, but that's gained currency. But the Carnegie Endowment Foundation report, which did not find any evidence of caste-based discrimination, and I have been asking people who are there, they produce the evidence of where a person has been discriminated against for all the reasons that they claim exists. Your thoughts on that?
See, I've done a series of hangouts where I have explained the links of Equality Labs with other dubious institutions, and it all comes back to one entity. And viewers on P Gurus, there are lots of channel, a lot of hangouts, but there are two different reports that are extremely useful. There's one called from disinfo.org, and they have, with very good diagrams, they've established all the different connects, and Equality Labs is right in the middle. They've also captured USCIRF, and these are the things that people need to be looking out. And what happens is, they are also organized at the university level. When a freshman goes to a university, there's an open day where they are being asked to join this club, that club, so on and so forth. Hindus need to concentrate from that point on. Right there, they are being captured, because that's one of the areas that we need to concentrate on. I don't know if that is happening at all or not. The other thing that you mentioned about why people are raking up caste is, whether you take, let's take Abrahamic religions. I'm not including Jewish religion in this, but just Christianity and Muslim. They both are political in nature. This separation of church and state is only in a few countries. In everywhere else, they are both together. They use religion to capture power. And that is exactly what is happening in Tamil Nadu. What their goal is to create an East Timor like situation in India, in southern part of India, hive of Tamil Nadu and some parts of Sri Lanka, and make that like the Tamil Republic or something like that, which will be completely Christian in nature. If you remember, towards the end of his life, many of the LTT leaders had become Christians, and that thing is still there. That spirit is still moving around. They have a lot of money, and the problem is they use this money very effectively to wage a war in terms of religious war on our minds. Whereas Sanatana Dharma doesn't believe in trying to convert anybody. It doesn't believe in aggressively defending itself. Forget about aggressively offending others, like in your face, saying that your religion is full of crap. Then there is this blasphemy tag that gets attached on you. So see, on the one side they are committing atrocities, and on the other side they are crying victimhood. So these are all like creating smoke screens, so you don't look at what is really happening on the ground. So these are the things that need to be broken up. And I can ask our viewers, because this is an American audience, how many of you have really read 1196 HR 1196 that is being piloted by Ilhan Omar? It's full of lies. Why? Because it is completely or almost verbatim taken its findings from the USCIRF report, which is written by an anti-Hindu Pakistani American reporter that nobody wants to own up. And I looked at the number of references she has quoted. In a 3-page document, there are like 59 references. And I've actually listed them in one of my posts on P Gurus. Not one of them is a balanced view of India. See, we have the wires of the world in India, the scrolls of the world in India. These people, for money, they'll do anything. So this global media being corrupted by money has come to all countries. It's not just a phenomenon of West alone. So it is up to us to try and shine the spotlight on the truth. That is the first casualty, sir. Truth is the first casualty in all these things.
Absolutely correct, sir. Absolutely correct. And you brought in two very important elements. One is the conversion. Now, conversion is related to freedom of religion. And I have begun to be a believer in this element, that we as Indians and Hindus must resist the Western imposition of ideas and ideology on our way of life. So, for example, Sanatani doesn't believe in conversion. You pray or you don't exactly is your choice. How you pray, but eventually our philosophy says that eventually it is your karma that defines you, your actions that define you. Not praying 100 times a day doesn't make you a noble human being. The issue here is very important. Something has to begin from some point. We now know a lot. You talked about the institutionalized way in which we are being systematically being attacked and dismantled. The efforts to dismantle is very serious. For example, we live in a world of Satranj ke khiladi or lotus eaters era. We sit idly, think that everything will be fine. But let's look at a very important element, that when Sonia Gandhi formed National Advisory Council or committee, look at the names of members of that committee. Today, when we get to know of these names, we realize that they are all breaking India forces elements. They institutionalized things that were detrimental to the interest of Hindus. And it's time for us to arise against that. So, for example, conversion. I am of a believer, and I seek your opinion on that India as a country must, dispense with those certain Western practices which are imposed on us. Conversion is one such. And my favorite statement is that conversion is a sin against God's original intent. If God is the ultimate creator and a final magician, Sree could be Saif and Vibhuti could be Victor. But we are Sree and Vibhuti. God made us for a purpose. And to convert us to a particular point of view, practicing of religion in the sense of conversion alone, we must reject it. What is your thought on it? And can we do it? Can it be done in the way the world governs itself?
Absolutely, Vibhuti Ji. Conversion is also violence on a religious form, because you are suddenly being asked to hate something that you grew up with and then like something else. Now, some people have some personal problems that they project as being because of their religion. Simple thing that these conversion practices do is they'll identify, they are doing much better census work than perhaps even the government of India is doing. They know which are their actual places where they can capture more and more souls. So what happens is, in these areas, the first thing that goes wrong is the local temple's murti disappears. Once that happens, people stop going to temple. Even those who believed in going there sporadically, they don't go. Then what happens is, you get bus loads of people that descend upon a village, street to street, house to house, corner to corner. You have no respite. If you are not caught at home, you'll be caught at your dabba, your dukan where you are working, or in the fields. There's 600, 700 people that come, sir, 10, 15 buses. That is how organized they are. And now, because of the FCRA limitations and the strict application of the FCRA law, a lot of the funding has dried up, and they are mad as hell. That is why you see all these other noises being created, whether it is in USCIRF or in every US president, doesn't matter which party he belongs to, will go to India, partake of the hospitality for 4 days. On the last day, he'll make one speech where he says that the minorities in India are being discriminated against, and then return back. And then that gets amplified to the Bible Belt, all those donors who are giving money thinking that they are really being discriminated, and they're not even getting 2 courses of food, which is not true. The one minority, Christians, actually run a whole bunch of religious institutions in India. In fact, after the government, I believe it is the third, after the government and the railways land, they own the most amount of land. And they've also taken many 99-year leases, which they don't want to leave those places.
That's right.
You try to make assert the law on that, all hell will break loose. The one place I'm telling you is smack in the middle of Chennai called Loyola College campus. Guess where the most rabid left-leaning media people come from? Loyola College. Guess where the most amount of abuse of priesthood happens, of sexual nature? Same congregation. So and people are just roaming free, sir. We have taken up the cases of some nurses who have been sexually abused, and nobody wants to touch that. My point in saying this is, no minority has ever been discriminated in India. All people need to do is to direct them to the resolution that was passed in Knesset. In the first few resolutions that the Israeli Knesset passed, one of them was, they said, all over the world, the Jews were persecuted, except for one country, India.
Right.
And they said, thank you, India. Why can't all of us locate that document? This is a resolution. I've heard about it. I've heard second, third person relation of this, but I'd like to get my hands on the document, because I want to paste it on pgurus.com saying that this is the kind of treatment that minorities get in India. Or take a look at the 91 Parsis that arrived, 85 men and 6 women, and they sought refuge in Gujarat. And the king kind of asked their leader, how can you help us? And the leader asked for a glass of milk. And then he had a little bit of sugar in it. He took that bag out, put sugar, mixed the thing, and gave it back. And the milk was sweet. He said, that's what we can do. Remember, at that time, probably the language also was not the same. This is how they endeared themselves to India, to the king of Gujarat. I don't remember the exact kingdom.
Yeah.
And Parsis have integrated so well into the society. You take religion after Moplas. These are traders that came from Arabia. And this culture has been there for thousands of years. And where from they get this data, I'm openly challenging them. Show me one place where this is true. And in fact, I'm giving them data that the opposite is what is happening. And there is no response to that, because they feel that the amplification or the rising above the noise of channels like P Gurus is not going to make a difference in their vote bank. Guess what? It is making a difference. It is making it. Take a look at Raja Krishnamurthy's primary victory. People may think, oh, he won by 71-29. There was a huge rally. They were having somebody saying that he should be killed. And that kind of virulent campaigning that took place against him was because they felt that they had a chance. And now they are going after Pramila Jaipal, whose ideology I don't agree with. But as a person, she is being targeted because her name sounds Hindu American. I don't even know if she is Hindu or not, a practicing Hindu or not. But see, this is where the other trap comes. You become a crypto-Christian name, you are identified with the wrong group. So there are some good and not so good things about it too.
This brings a very interesting element, because you brought in the current US politics, which is social life is totally wokeist. We know that. The other element which is very important, 1196 you brought out, Ilhan Omar's bill, which is all riddled with farce, and it is absolutely bunkum. But there is no Indian organization as such, barring a sprinkle here or a sprinkle there, that has been able to project that this bill is wrong. And the US Congress is losing its own credibility in the eyes of 1.2 billion people, minus the Hindu haters. I'll put that in that category. So the question here is very simple. Where were these four, Ami Bera, Raja Krishnamurthy, Ro Khanna, and Pramila Jaipal? They are voting for 1196. Why is it?
I surely hope they don't.
The validity of that entire resolution.
Yes, I hope one or two of them abstain. Remember, you don't have to go against your party and vote for it.
Yeah.
Why don't you bloody abstain? Now the other wrinkle, Sergi, is one of the Republican congressmen also has signed on to this.
Correct.
You see the challenge. I can clearly see the challenge from the congressmen / women. They are in campaign mode 24/7. Even if the day after they get elected once, they go into the campaign mode for the next election that is coming down 2 years down the pipeline. And this is so what has happened is always seek money, seek funding. I need to be able to reach out. I need to drown out the other person in noise. All this sort of thing happens. So in all this, the first casualty is things like somebody comes and says, I'll give you $20,000 if you pilot this thing through the Congress. And the guy looks at it, this doesn't concern me. It doesn't concern my religion. It doesn't concern my constituency. It doesn't concern my state. It doesn't concern my country. Hey, this is the best thing to do. 20,000, you said? Maybe 50,000. I'll pilot it and I'll put my name also. This is how the mindset has become now.
I want to assure the viewers here today that I'm contesting for New York State Assembly on Republican ticket, and no amount of money will change my position of truth, trust, and transparency that I have chosen to espouse. And that's the reason why every Indian must get engaged. Now, the 1196 is a key issue. Rutgers University research that came about, there is a global attack on us as people. The concern I have is what exactly is the reason for the threat that we seem to be conveying to them? What is it that frightens people from other faith, that these weird group of people, who believe in eternal principles, are we becoming a threat to them? Is the science and technology breaking down the barriers of fear and ignorance, which is what the base of all religions is? If you look at it this way, the basis on religion is fear and ignorance. The moment science and technology brings out the truth, then those fear and ignorance goes away. Today we know that men are responsible for the gender determination of a child. You don't need to marry 10 women to get a child of your choice. Today we know that thunder and lightning doesn't happen because gods are angry. It is a geographical phenomenon. Is this the reason? I think the reason what people are fearing is that the rise of science and technology is breaking the barriers of ignorance and fear, which is where the Abrahamic faiths are built on, based on. That's why people are leaving religions in hordes. Ex-Muslims, Catholics leaving their faith, church attendance as an all-time low, because people realize that there is something not matching with the way religion is practiced today and our belief, which is all encompassing. What do you say to that?
You're spot on, Vibhuti Ji. See, one of the challenges that Sanatanis face is it is not in our DNA to try and hit back at somebody else when they try to run down your religion. You just shrug your shoulders and go off. The two reasons for that. One is that we ourselves haven't done our tapasya. We haven't done enough of our own religion. For example, if I tell our audience today that even in Hinduism there's only one God, you'll all jump up and down and say, how come everybody is telling us that we have millions of gods, which is one of the things that is effectively used against us to attack us. There's only one God. It's called Parabrahma. And Parabrahma does not have a shape or form. So when it was realized by the rishis, I'm talking thousands of years ago, I don't know when, it was realized by rishis, but when they tried to explain this to the common man, the person who worked in the fields, the person who was an artisan, the person who was constructing houses, it was a little difficult for them. Then what they said is, okay, look at the five elements: earth, water, sky, and so on.
Right.
Those got worshipped. And then they said, okay, what gives you your food? Okay, this is the loom is the one that gives you your food. Worship that. That is why if you look at it, every time a harvest is planted, sir, there's a Bhumi Puja that the farmer does.
That's right.
They pray to Bhuma Devi, Bhudevi, please give me a good harvest. You know what happened 2 days ago? A Tamil Nadu MP, rascal, stopped the government official from performing Bhumi Puja at a new site. And he said, I need to have an Abrahamic person also doing religion rights here. The amount to which these guys are stooping low is unbelievable, and it is going unchecked. Neither the CM, their chief minister, the great honorable chief minister, has the testicular gravitas to rein them in, nor anybody else. There is no party whip saying that we shall not do this thing. Because I can tell you the way it is going in Tamil Nadu, they are absolutely going to the pits. So back to the point, what I'm trying to say is there's only one God. And because Parabrahma is something that gives you the actual truth, you have to find your own way. If you think that Lord Subramanya is the way, fine. It's an open source architecture.
Yes.
Anybody can do. You don't have to go to the temple to pray. Although the temples were built at places where there is some magnetism, which actually calms you down. If you see, one thing that I'm always and I always do this thing because my parents told me, but now I understand why. They'll say after you've done your puja, you do the parikrama 2 or 3 times. 3 times is typical. You go around pradakshina in a clockwise manner.
Right.
This is all yat pinde tat brahmande, meaning I am part of this universe, and we always believe in clockwise.
Right.
And they say after everything, sit down for 2-3 minutes. Just sit down. Don't say anything, just think. Because a cool breeze in a temple, and sir, these were built hundreds of years ago in tropical climates, but you sit in a temple mandap, there'll be beautiful breeze wafting through.
Yeah.
And that is what you are supposed to do. So you go to temple, you get a certain amount of inner peace. You can do this thing in your house also. There are lots of puja rooms these days. Vastu. See, on the one side, we have embraced all these things like Vastu concept. But on the other side, we are also having problems such as, I don't want to identify myself as a Hindu. The moment somebody puts a vibhuti on me, I erase it, wipe it out before I go back. The moment somebody puts a vibhuti on me, I erase it and go back outside. This is what Mr. M.K. Stalin did. He goes to a temple, he does puja, and they put a sacred ash on him. The guy wipes it out before he comes out. And nobody has a problem with this. And he's a chief minister for all of Tamil Nadu. He'll only greet for Christmas and Ramzan and other Eids. He doesn't greet the people for the Hindu festivals. And nobody has a problem with this. It's just ridiculous to the extent to which these people are trying to go to shore up their vote. Anyway, back to the US. We have some work to do. As parents, we have some work to do. We do have to sit our children down and explain what our dharma is, because poor kids, they get caught like deer in a headlight when they go to college, and they get barraged by all these falsehoods.
The question again back to the position comes back to the politics of it. You said that in Hindu temples, we don't discuss politics. Whereas the Abrahamic faith, politics is very much ingrained in their process. It's all about the geopolitics of control. You control entities by either dividing them or subjugating them to certain terms and conditions, which is what is happening, which is what has happened to us in 1,000 years of rule by the British and the Mughals that came to India. The question again is very important to ask here is why are we letting it happen? Why is it that so many Hindus get so easily possessed in terms of the negativity of the other faith, instead of we trying to impose or bring about the positivity of our belief? So Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is a philosophy which everybody talks about in America. Everybody says but nobody understands that it's not the family. World is not a family. Family is a very interesting political concept because you are born of the same parentage and whatever else. It's a political social entity. It's not a philosophical entity. So we are all born equal. But equal and equity are two different things altogether because we are all different too. That's what Sanatana says. That go ahead and do what you like, but this put you under a particular frame of reference. Why is it that we Hindus have always allowed ourselves to be dominated by others instead of trying to do good and bring them into our fold? That the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam actually means the 5 elements that sustain us. That's the God-given element. Why have we failed, despite our Vedic knowledge, that parampara, the pratha, and everything else which has existed in our life? We have not taken this forward.
Vibhuti Ji, it's a little difficult question to answer, but if I have to look at where this perhaps happened, I have to say that it is perhaps post Ashoka that the Kshatriyata in the Sanatani kind of took a backseat. If you go to the temple of Konark, Sun Temple in Konark, that was built, I think, in 7th century AD. The king was so upset and afraid that people have forgotten how to wage wars, that they actually show a lot of how to fight wars, war inscriptions, because that is how pacific people had become. And that Kshatriya, or the lack of it, I think is continuing. You can say that the horse beat the elephant, therefore the Mughals came and defeated us, and then the gun defeated the sword. That's how the West occupied us. All this is fine, but they were 22,000. We were
Exactly.
in hundreds of crores.
Exactly.
So because, and the reason it failed was because Sanatana Dharma never preached politics as part of its religion. Although I must say, one leader saw this and very successfully used it. You know who? Bal Gangadhar Tilak. He figured out that British will not touch you if you start celebrating Indian religious festivals. That Ganapati Bappa Moria was a cry that he started, because that is where he started mobilizing people, and they had some coded language to say, this is what I say, this is what it means, you see. And for that, Bal Gangadhar Tilak was actually ostracized by his own party.
Yes.
The Congress was all moderates at that time. In fact, Gandhiji was probably one of the biggest moderates. The more radical elements, or the more stronger elements, were free thinkers, were Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai. There was a person called VOC, Vau Chidambaram Pillai in Tamil Nadu. He is the first one to have built an Indian-owned ship that challenged the British. And they were so successful that the British found a ruse to shut him down. He had to spend his half of his life in abject penury. And this was all because the British were devious in the way they operated. They knew they were only 22,000. They knew they were dealing with hundreds of crores. So they had to keep expanding and magnifying all the fault lines that existed in the Indian society. And this is what is the current day politician is doing too.
Yeah, I mean, you're totally right. The number game is so amazing that what triggered my entire revulsion and anger was when I encountered 1941 census of India. Is for there to see everybody. You can just Google it. 141,000 approximately, plus or minus, British were in the country at that time. 141,000 plus women and children. To buttress your point, and to your point, it is they ruled us millions, using our resources, our people against us, dividing the country as if it was their paternal sanctioned property, enriched themselves, and we remained poor. We became poor, and my anger is about that. Why the hell did I let it happen? Where were our people who did not, resist that? Why did the satrap mentality of India, which still continues, why the satrap mentality of Hindus is leading us to our downfall, and we don't see it? We don't see the writing on the wall. What is it about us? And this is the moment of self-reflection that I'm talking about. The global media is against us. The most peaceful community in the world, that is us, is being branded and attacked and divided by one consideration or the other, and we can't fight it. And I know one thing very sure. Many of us have seen on YouTube channels that how a buffalo gets easily killed and eaten up by a lion, but 3 buffaloes get together and the lion has to run. So when are we, the buffaloes, going to unite? What would be the uniting factor for us?
The uniting factor is the pride of being a Sanatani. You have to be proud of your religion. You have to be proud of your values that they teached, that our parents taught. Don't, if you see an elder person in front of elderly person, uncle, aunt, whoever it is, the first thing we are told is to go touch their feet, get their blessing. You have to touch their feet, by the way. It's not just the reason I'm saying that is because that energy from them, their experience flows into you. That is the belief.
Yeah.
And these things are, and you try doing that in the West. They used to make fun of Kaun Banega Karodpati, saying that every contestant is going and touching the feet of the person who's asking the questions. See, the thing is, they don't know the symbology or the philosophy behind that. That when you do Sashtanga Namaskar, you are shedding all your ego, all your knowledge, all your arrogance, and placing yourself in front of somebody who you think can give you some more of every one of some more knowledge, some more wisdom, because that person has lived a life longer than you have. This is the essence of that. Yet we don't. So this is the thing. Unfortunately, right? Even I, at my age, only in the last 5-10 years, I've understood a lot of these things, which is why I kind of keep saying these things in my hangouts and conversation. But we need to do this thing at the age of 10, 15. So the kids understand, it comes naturally to them.
That's right.
So that pride in being Sanatani has to happen, sir. This is the most important thing. The moment you do that, then all the other things, caste, subcaste, divisions, all those things take a backseat. First thing is, I am this. When somebody does Aarti, this is why he's doing it. When somebody says Om Namah Shivaya, this is why they are saying this thing. Or Shri Ganesh Kardo. This is everywhere, sir. Even in the most anti-Hindu state element that rule in Tamil Nadu, they always, almost all of them, even today, they first do a sign which is to say that with Ganesha's blessings. If I take a piece of paper like this, and I'm going to write something, right? The first thing they'll do is write this, which is actually a Ganesha. I don't know if you can see it, but it is a Ganesha. Yeah. I'm invoking the blessings of Ganesha before I embark on this. Everybody does it. Otherwise, you might do an Om. The point I'm trying to make is this Sanatani is living in you. This is your blood for thousands of years. They know, they have taught us what is the right thing to do and what are the wrong things. They also told us that the God exists within us. That inner voice that tells you what you're doing is wrong, that is the God. That's right. It's a different matter. You ignore it most of the time, but the more you listen, the better person you become.
Yeah, you have mentioned so many things that are close to my heart, and we talked about that. But touching feet has a very interesting element in my life. Okay, and that's where the ability to argue, ask a question, learn is important. I was asked this question by many Americans. about our practices and policies. So, for example, touching feet. Why do you guys touch feet? So I gave him two examples that we have a total belief in what exactly you said, that you bow in respect to the elder. But there is an other element to that, because I had to make him understand from his point of view, because that's also
Right.
very important. So I said, when you bow down to somebody, your parent, elders, you are exposing your back to them. And the blessing that comes is there to tell you that we have your back. He said, oh, that makes sense. Which I'm trying to make is that we have to make them understand from their perspective as well.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
they're willing to listen. So all the people, I want to say this to you, my son, he is now
Vibhuti Ji, I
35,
think
right?
I seem to have lost you again.
You did.
Yours, please do like, share, and subscribe to Jaipur Dialogues USA channel. I'm sure he will get him back again. Are you back,
Am I
sir?
not audible now?
Yeah, yeah. You were off for about 10
Oh,
seconds. I was pitching for your channel. Go back,
oh,
sir.
okay. I heard you then. No, touching the feet, we have to also learn to explain. So,
Yeah.
for example, my son, he's 30 plus years. He asked me the meaning of touching feet. I explained it to him. Even today, at international airport or domestic travel, he touches my feet when I go to drop him off.
Mhm.
And I love it, not because of anything else, but because he understood the meaning of it, that I have his back. Go ahead, do what you like. It's like the finger on the back. This is the phrase I use with him. Go fly. Just remember your parents' finger is on your back.
Mm.
We are there for you. This is the meaning that we have to explain to them. This is important. With the remaining time that we have, there is another thing that is called the institution building. The institution building is very important. Today, immediately in this context, we get rated on varieties of indexes. The global index of happiness, global index of human freedom, global index of XYZ9, all the items. They're all designed for the Western countries, for their own socio-cultural element, so they can control us. Why must India subscribe to that part of the indexes? Because our socio-cultural element is very different.
India doesn't have to. What happens really is that India and the government as an entity is still not confidently able to say that I know what I am, I know my value system, and thanks for your ideas, but I know what I have to do, and it gets the country behind them. You see, today, for anything that Modi ji does, there's always somebody saying that he's wrong. We shall oppose it. This kind of thing, you have to be able to. The opposition needs to differentiate between speaking for the country and speaking for a party. I have no problem if Congress opposes Modi when he makes a party statement. I have a problem when Modi is representing India, making a statement somewhere, and they go and criticize that. That is wrong, in my opinion. That maturity has to come, and somehow they have lost it, sir. And therefore, but the government also can be a little bit more proactive in its messaging. And I'm by the way, it is happening that way. You saw Dr. Jaishankar come and bat on the front foot many times these days. Do you remember any other Minister of External Affairs doing that?
Right.
They were always meek and timid, and they would just, not answer the question rather than take it head on. He said, "Yeah, I don't want to talk to Pramila Jaipal. She's not a
Yes.
part of my the committee, and I know what her views are. There's nothing more I'm going to learn by talking to her." Straight out, and she got really upset. But that is the truth.
This
You
is
want
what
to
is
try?
interesting. You said it about Jaishankar ji. There is a
Yeah.
major donor of Democratic Party here. I won't name him, who claims that he has made $7 million worth of contribution to Democratic Party, and he was upset. He even accused that Jaishankar is acting because he's a Brahmin in this manner. He even said that he's an idiot. He's a bureaucrat. He doesn't know politics, and he should have been accommodative of Pramila Jaipal. And I said that it is an external affairs minister. It is equivalent to Secretary of State. And Pramila Jaipal, with all due respect, she's a congresswoman. There was no justification to include her with her mindset, with her point of view, to be included in the delegation to meet external affairs minister without his concurrence. he also has a right. Just because we are in America doesn't give us unfettered right to whatever we want to say and do. This is the important part. So we are coming towards the end of our last 5 minutes of our show today. It has been really fascinating because it is important first to understand and then take the next stage. I'm totally driven by the action part. I love Swami Vivekananda's call of arise, awaken, and assert. It is never more relevant than today. And today, technology supports us. The fourth element, which I always add my word, that Vivekananda's 3 A's of arise, awaken, and assert, and Vibhuti Jha's fourth A, act. Because if all the knowledge and wisdom, if we do not act, then we end up being nobody. So, as a student of economics and a management consultant, we always like to address a problem from, okay, this is the beginning point. So I'm putting Sree Iyer ji, my dear friend, on the spot. If you were given the choice, where would that begin? Where will that element begin? Where must we start from?
First act is understanding the first 3 A's, and to that, it's not that difficult. As a matter of fact, you just have to listen to one speech of Swami Vivekananda in what religion was that? 1893
Oh,
speech.
yeah.
Yes, and he says this is very short speech, but it shows what Sanatana Dharma is about. And you just listen to it, absorb it, understand that this was delivered 130 years ago, and see what little has changed, and how much you can find improvement within yourself. I think all of us, when you start seeing that, because I'm a Sanatana, I'm using some of those principles in my own life. For simple reason, pranayama, that is just taking deep breaths to regulate your breathing, sir. 5 minutes or 2 minutes, whatever time you have, you do that because it calms down the brain. How many times are we stressed out? On the road, we are stressed out when you're driving to work. We're stressed out when somebody asks a question that we don't know the answer for. Whatever it is, this we have to also absorb. I can act that also as another A, and then you are ready to act. And the action happens with all the wisdom that you've gathered from all your previous deeds. This is very true, and you don't have to really work at it. It comes to you naturally. Today, I had zero prep for this, Vibhuti Ji. And I think I've kind of given a lot of information. I hope it's all cogent. I think it is coherent. But what I'm trying to say is that comes from within, from having learned a lot of stuff, what Sanatana Dharma has to offer. It can be the spiritual leader of the world. In fact, we should remember that before 1 BC, what were we all? We were all Sanatanis. It's like returning to the fold.
That's right. That's right. I mean, totally agree with you. And thank you so much for being with us today. You said that you did not prepare, but the question is, you don't need to prepare because you are being yourself.
Thank you.
Spoke from within. You spoke from within, your own feelings, your own knowledge, and your wisdom you shared with us. That's absolutely fabulous. There is one thing which I want to tell my audience today and all the viewers today who will watch it later, is that get ready. Prepare your mind to explain our virtues and our practices to the Americans in the language that they understand. So when touching feet, I explained it to them by virtue of explaining that, hey, it is covering his back. They understood that. That's what is also very important, is that how does the other person understand? Because his ability to understand is also limited to his own surroundings and his own teachings. This is also equally important, and there have been many such issues that have come about. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Please like, subscribe, support us. And there is one thing which Sree Iyer ji said right in the beginning. We Hindus do not contribute with our Lakshmi Dan because everything needs money. Building a temple needs money. Every effort needs money. We are hesitant in contributing. It doesn't matter whether it's $1 or 50 cents or $1 million, but contribute. And I have a 3CM formula for that. We Hindus need to begin by cooperating, collaborating, and coordinating and mobilizing. This is the thing. If you do not like Sree Iyer or Vibhuti Jha, it's okay. But you don't have to trash us because we are doing things according to our own knowledge, ability, and the way we can do things. Support if you can. If you can't, that's okay. But don't be overcritical about ourselves. Don't be overcritical. These are my parting thoughts today with you. Thank you very much, Sree Iyer ji, for joining us. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me on your show to promote my candidacy. And I want to say that very, very, very delighted to have this conversation with you.
Likewise, sir.
Satyamev Jayate.
Namaskar.
Satyamev Jayate.
Satyameva Jayate. It takes a few seconds sometimes.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
can
it
cut
does, it does.
this part out.
No, but it is useful. We need to have many more conversations like this, because repetition of the message is also very, very important.
Right,
Because
right, right,
with
right.
every time there is somebody else is listening to it, somebody gets a new idea for that. And it's like watching a movie. You watch a third time or the fourth time, and then you suddenly realize, oh, I did not notice that part. You know?
Right, 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 right.
So I'm requesting
Happens.
Console to close the show, and I'm ending the studio now. Thank you very much.
Thank